Black Table here on the Black Star Network. My name is Greg Carr, your host, and this is our weekly hour devoted to topics of particular interest to people of African descent and to others fighting and working to build a better society. We're always excited here at the table when we introduce a new element. And we have our regular HBCU Master Teachers Roundtable. We have our legal roundtable. We interview elders. We talk about folks who are writing some interesting scholarship. And today, we are particularly excited. I think we're going to look back on this as a watershed moment in the history of the Black Star Network and the Black Table. We are convening our first K-12 Master Teachers Roundtable, and we are doing it in high fashion. As everyone knows by now in the world, here in the United States, the College Board has introduced an advanced placement African American studies course. That course is being piloted all over the United States. There are about 6 teachers, a little shy of 6, about 60 teachers who are teaching it all over the country. And I'm sure everybody has been following the controversies, the governors in Virginia and Florida, and talking about what is and isn't in the curriculum. And we thought we would sweep all that noise aside and go right to the master teachers who are convening that course so we can have a lesson today and hopefully going forward on the network, have them back a number of times to allow us to enter the classroom with them and talk about who is learning and what they're teaching and learning in the African American Studies course. Here with us today in our first Master Teachers Roundtable, anchored in the AP course, are 4 master teachers from Tulsa, Oklahoma. Brother Darren Williams, who is at the McLean High School for Science and Technology. From Houston, we have Sister Nelva Williamson, who is teaching at the Young Women's College Prep Academy. We have from Baton Rouge, we have Brother Emmett Lynn, who is teaching, of course, at the Baton Rouge Magnet High School. And finally, last but not least, from nearby St. Amar, we have Brother Malcolm Reed, who is teaching at St. Amar High School. And we are here to have this conversation with our master teachers. Welcome, sisters and brothers, to the Black Table. And thank you for taking a little bit of time. For those of you who are not, you can see the background for our teachers. They're in the middle of the school day. Those school days, K-12, are measured by seconds. So we ain't wasting no time. Welcome, y'all, to the Black Table. When we all last saw each other physically, of course, we were at the National Museum of African American History and Culture, where you were convened to celebrate the launch in February 2023, the formal launch of the final iteration of the AP African American Studies course. But of course, you've been teaching this course since you began to prepare for it last summer, and you've been teaching it the pilot from the beginning. So let's start. The convention might say ladies first. We're going to ask Nelva Williamson in Houston. How did you get involved in this? And then we'll kind of ask everybody that same question. And what's been your experience so far?
Well, there was a symposium, a College Board symposium, a year ago, and my principal was there. The message came out that the course was going to be available. She immediately signed up the school, and it was all, the ball started rolling from there. So that's how we became involved here at Young Women's College Prep in Houston.
Okay. How big is your school now? I remember you talking about that a little bit.
We are a 6 through 12 campus, all girls, STEM focused, and we have approximately 500 students.
And everybody's AP?
Everybody's AP. When they get to high school, everyone is AP. We're AP for all school.
Wow. Okay. Thank you. Brother Emmett, you are in Baton Rouge, and you kind of wear a couple of hats. You're not only at the high school, you're over at our beloved Southern University, Baton Rouge, as well, aren't you?
Yes. Yes, I am. Yes. So I'm at Baton Rouge High, and I also am an adjunct professor for Southern University. And I got started with the AP African American program when my principal approached me 2 years ago. She asked me to start an African American history course here at the school, which we did. And we had started off with 16 students. And from that first group last year, when we offered the AP African American, we've grown to 60 students now in 2 sections at our school. So, and that's how I got started and got into the AP program with the African American studies.
Thank you. And let's go to Malcolm, nearby St. Amar. Brother Malcolm, tell us a little bit about your experience, how you got involved in this, and where you are.
All right. Well, my experience is a little bit different because I actually was not even at St. Amant High School at the beginning of last year. I was the head football coach at McKinley High School. I got to shout McKinley out because it's the oldest black school, oldest public school in the state of Louisiana, and I'm a graduate. So, but things went the other way, and I ended up going back to St. Amant, and our principal, text me a picture of the course, saying that they was going to be having it at St. Amant. So when I got back in February of last year, I was teaching African American studies with about 10 kids in the class. So this school year, we do a 4x4. We do a 4x4 scheduled block. So the first semester I taught African American studies, and I had about 50 kids in there, but it wasn't an AP course. But to see that growth was great. And this semester I have 27 students taking the AP course at St. Amant, which is more like the second largest high school in the state, with over 2,000 students. So, it's a big deal, and I'm so thankful to be a part of it. Football is great, but I'm definitely, more excited about this right now.
Well, I'm excited. Just the conversation we were having at the museum, you kind of had a unique perspective, even in terms of being someone who is also a coach on how this works. But before we come to you, Darren, I want to ask you one quick question, because a lot of folk who are looking at this may not be familiar with the parlance. What's the difference between a 4x4? These are extended minute courses, so they're not just 50 minutes or 45 minutes?
Yeah. So our classes are like 90 minutes a piece, but we see the students every day. So for the first semester, they are taking 4 classes for an hour and a half a day. And then, but it's a year. They finish the year's worth of work within a semester's time. So the first semester I didn't teach AP. I only taught the regular African American studies. And now in January I'm teaching the AP course, and I'll be teaching it till May. And they'll still get, they get 8 credits a year instead of 7 as other schools might do.
Okay, thank you, brother. So let's hear from Oklahoma, where the wind comes sweeping down the plain. We got Tulsa in the house, brother Darren. Talk to us, brother. Where are you, and how'd you get involved in this?
Yes, sir. Again, McLean High School is where we are, and probably about this time last year, maybe a little later, my principal actually emailed me and kind of said that this is what's coming out, and talked about how important she thought it would be for our school. Interestingly, not just me. There are about 6 of us in our social studies department. She also emailed one of our other teachers, young teacher, Ms. Hall, and she said that one section would be what they wanted, but she wanted us to have 2 sections of it taught, and by 2 different teachers. And she lobbied hard with College Board to send both of us to be trained for AP, and she won. We both did get to teach it. And so just hearing about that, African American Studies was coming as an AP course to us, I was more excited about that because I was scheduled to be teaching African American Studies for this year, which I'm also teaching 3 sections of that. But to have AP, we were all in to have it, and so that's how we got involved.
Okay, wonderful. Let's keep this going. We only have a couple of minutes left in this block, but I want to throw this to anyone who might want to lead out with it, and then we'll continue on the other side of the break. We know there's been a lot of stuff in the news, a lot of headlines about the College Board and the course and the curriculum. Myself, Dr. Josh Myers from Howard, we actually worked on the curriculum. That's before, I think, as they were recruiting you all. Yeah. But now all that's over and all that's passed. Was when you all came to Washington, D.C. to meet for the kind of group where y'all began to build out how you're going to write lesson plans, how you're going to teach and deal with the class. Was that the first time y'all got together?
It is, yes. The first time the cohort of us did was there in DC. No contact or even announcement about who else will be coming. Just when we got there, we saw each other, we met each other.
Okay. Mm-hmm. And it seems to me that, as we know as teachers, and this is the real blessing, again, thanks you all for taking time out of the day to come and talk with us. We know teachers bond. And it seems y'all got a very powerful network that's really independent of anything else going on. Can anybody talk a little bit about that bonding that you all had? And thank you, brother Malcolm. That's that Louisiana accent, Saint Amant. I mean, they say "oh" to us Negroes up here to know, but since I wanted to make that correction, Amant with a T. Tell us, Malcolm. I mean, what has this bond been like? Because that's what I got from you all. Y'all are a very tight cohort of folks.
Oh, well, I appreciate that. But me and Emmett had already met last year, working, during our social studies teachers' professional development. So when we saw each other, it was like, what's up? BR in the house, what's happening?
Right.
So, and another guy, Lamont Simmons, he was from New Orleans. We was on the plane together. We didn't even know we was coming to the same spot. So that was crazy. But once we got there and we started sharing ideas, and it's just a community that teachers automatically have, and we bouncing ideas off each other, perspectives and different experiences. So it naturally, and obviously nothing brings you together more than an event, as significant as this. So we all kind of understood what we were facing and how important this work is gonna be. So we naturally just connected on that, and we all in this together. We got each other's back. If somebody needs something, we all one call away, and that's the most beautiful part of the whole thing for me, is just having another network of teachers all over the country that I never really had access to.
Yeah.
Right.
Listen, man, I appreciate that. And in fact, I think we all do. I know one thing, I can speak, I think, for everybody who's watching this, it's flat-foot inspirational to see how you all work together and in your classroom. So we're going to come back in a moment after the break. We're going to come into the classrooms with you, if you'll allow us, and maybe help us understand what's going on in the classroom, some of the things that the students have gravitated toward, the things you found, what works, what you expect to work better as you continue to deliver this course. And we'll be back with that and more here at the Black Table with our K-12 Master Teacher Roundtable. This is our inaugural conversation with the teachers of the Advanced Placement African American Studies course offered by the College Board here in the U.S. Back in a moment at the Black Table.
Black Star Network is here.
Oh, no punch!
I'm real revolutionary right now.
Thank you for being the voice of Black America.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
The video looks phenomenal.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared.
It's time to be smart.
Bring your eyeballs home.
You dig?
Welcome back to the Black Table. We're here with our Master Teachers Roundtable, talking about the Advanced Placement African American Studies course being offered here in its pilot form from 2022 and 23. And next year, that's going to be scaled up for even more folk. And soon this course will be coming to a school near you. Nelva, one of the things in listening to you talk about this course, and, all of y'all have been interviewed by folk, but again, we wanted to have this space to really be able to stretch out. You were so proud of your students. Tell us a little bit about how these students are gravitating. I know all of y'all are, but maybe Nelva, if you could lead out, tell us about some of the work that y'all doing in the classroom.
Okay, yes. I am certainly very, very proud of my students. They are really grasping on to this information, but they're just some savvy young ladies, and anything that we talk about, they are really engaged with. They're doing the readings, they're doing this analysis, they're bringing in things that are current, they're making these connections, some of which I had not even thought of myself. But they really are gravitating and holding on to this material and seeing where there are deficits in other history classes that they have taken, how this is adding a layer of knowledge and a depth of knowledge that they had not known before. It just really has been an amazing experience as a teacher to watch them engage with the material. especially since it's not just history. We are doing poetry, art analysis, other types of things. And I think that's also new for them to have that experience in a history classroom.
If you don't mind, just right quick as a follow-up, I remember we were standing around and you were talking about you have an artist, at least one artist in your course, right? And some of her creativity is driven by these primary sources. Could you talk a little bit about what she kind of generated, as a result of this work?
Right. One of my students, well, several of my students, they're talented in so many different ways. They're not just STEM girls. They are artists and they're musicians and singers, everything. But when we were doing some work with primary sources for runaway slave ads, one of my students who, she sketches all the time, she started sketching. And as I was walking around, she was drawing from the description in the ad. She was drawing the person. So she was bringing life to this person who had run away, taken agency over themselves. And here she is in 2023, giving him life again by sketching him out. And I told her that she should really think about integrating that into her art portfolio for, her auditions for college. She's trying to become an architect. And that could be a way for her to display her love for history as well as her talent for drawing. And I mean, her sketches were really amazing. They reminded me of the sketches that the artist did of the Africans that were in the Amistad trial. That's how detailed they were, that she just drew on her memory of that. And yeah, I did share that with you because that was just something that was very organic in our classroom. But then it caused me to think, okay, hey, can we all kind of sketch this out, and have this reimagining and bring the people in these runaway slave ads to life.
That's remarkable. In fact, I'm glad you said it because it absolutely is. For those who may not have been following this more closely, there are 4 units in the course, and it's driven by primary sources and source documents. And at the same time, we know, of course, like all advanced placement courses, there is a exam. I guess we're getting close to test season, but there's also a component where a student is encouraged to select their own topic for a final project that is part of their final grade. Because somebody walk us through the framework of the class and some of the things you've discovered along the way. Because a lot of people, they hear AP class, but most people, not teachers, they don't understand the difference between maybe curriculum as it is outlined and then what you're doing in the classroom. So have I gotten it right? That's the framework of the class, right? Anybody just jump in.
Correct. I'll jump in on this. So we have 4 units that we teach. Origins, which is the beginnings of the diaspora, beginnings in Africa and the diaspora. And then we go into slavery and resistance. And unit 2 ends at the Civil War. And then we pick up with the practice of freedom, which is post-Civil War going into, I would say, the 1940s or so. 1930s, and then we move into movements and debates, which will cover the civil rights movement and all the way to Afrofuturism. So the kids get to select a project of their choosing. We don't really have influence over that, so the kids are totally up to the student what they want to research within the field. And the only thing we can really teach are the research. Is the research process. So we don't help them edit papers. They have to conduct this scholarship on their own. And it's been very interesting. My students, a lot of their topics, as we're starting to kind of explore that, they're selecting more modern topics. I'm seeing more of the topic titles anyway that are more modern, looking at prison and incarceration, looking at sociological issues in relations to redlining and different issues like that are facing that a lot of us are still facing today.
Brother, Emmett, I'm glad that you said that, but I'm find myself a little bit in disbelief because according to everything, there are topics that have been excluded and are no longer, and you can't even teach it. What are you talking about? What do you mean? They talking about the prison industrial complex and the carceral state? What? Wait a minute. Okay, this is a setup. And y'all jump in here and help us, because word on the street is that there are some topics that are off limits. Talk to us some more about, tell us about what y'all working on with these students.
Yeah. So for my class, the kids have been, they're looking at everything. Everything is on the table that they have an interest in. Some of the things that AP did in the P2 from P1, Pilot 1 was the original curriculum, and Pilot 2 is the new public curriculum that's been modified in some ways. But the topics that people felt were pulled out, such as intersectionality and even 40 Million Ways to Be Black by Henry Louis Gates, writings like that, those are still available in a repository that'll be on the AP website, which is a AP Classroom, which is like a Blackboard site for kids who are taking the course. So if a student wants to research that, AP is standing by its commitment to academic freedom, and students are allowed to research those topics. And it's a totally student-driven project.
Mm-hmm. And Brother Greg.
Yes, sir, please.
Let me say this to that too. One of the beauties, or at least two issues of beauty about it being a studies course. The first thing is that in the classroom, if a student has an interest in a subject, then you can address and you can deal with the subject. The second thing, that as a studies course, it's not just a deep, straight dive into history as such, but it's interdisciplinary, which means that you are scanning what society, or how society upholds or deals with or not deal with an issue. And because it's a studies class, you can touch subjects in that way as well that are not necessarily required and a part of the curriculum.
And thank you. And we're going to come up on a break in the next couple of minutes. But I want to ask you all, just listening to you talk about what the students have gravitated toward, have you found topics? And I know, Malcolm, you're doing the block roster, so you're doing the whole thing in the semester. But I assume everybody else is doing fall and spring. You're in part 2, right? So I mean,
that's correct.
Are there topics that you said, man, these students are really, they want to let this go?
I could say a couple things, like pretty much everything that we've discussed has been like a light. I could see light bulbs going off all over the classroom every day.
Yeah.
And so many hands are being raised, and so many students are like building their responses off of each other. Like, it's really like so beautiful a thing for me to be able to step back, because I taught African American studies as a studies class at McKinley High for years. And it was, the demographic was different, and those kids had a little bit more familiarity with what we were discussing. With at my school that I'm at now, it's a little different. So I'm seeing them really own, and of course, it's being an AP course, these students are high level thinkers already, and they used to this kind of situation. So seeing them like just total buy-in across the board, every student in the class is involved and active. We did a lot of work on our research projects, because I had the class right before I came on. So I was listening to them discuss and kind of helping them with the writing process, and they sharing their research proposals with me, and I'm listening to them have all the same conversations everyone else is talking about. Like, they are so excited about being able to do this research and being able to like find something that they are passionate about in this area of study. And they want it. So at the end of the day, they choose it. They chose to sign up for the class. They chose whatever they wanted to research, and that is nothing more valuable for education than ownership. So that's what I appreciate the most.
All right. Well, we're going to thank you, Malcolm. We're going to come back after the break. We're going to continue this conversation. And before we go to break, I do want to say, and I think this is on behalf of everybody watching as well, please, all of you all, tell your young people we are cheering them on. Because I'm sure people watching this like, oh man, I wish I could go in this classroom, which I think we're going to talk about when we come back around the break, like what you see going forward. So we're back here in a moment here at the Black Table with our Master Teachers Roundtable, and we're discussing the Advanced Placement African American Studies course offered by the College Board and taught by the folk who are having the conversation today. Back in a moment here at the Black Table.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. This is an opportunity for us to be able to speak to our issues. Y'all better understand something real quick. We ain't going nowhere. It is a continual battle that we see all across this country. Revolution will not be televised. The revolution will be streamed.
All momentum we have now, we have to keep this going.
He makes sure that our stories are told.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
Welcome back to the Black Table here on the Black Star Network. Don't forget to support the Black Star Network. Download the app. You can join the Bring the Funk fan club. And we want to make sure that you all support this network because the conversation we're having today, you haven't heard it anywhere else, and you're not going to hear it anywhere else. And you're going to hear more of that, more and more. So remember to support the Black Star Network. We're back with our Master Teachers Roundtable with 4 of the teachers who are teaching the Advanced Placement AP course. When we left, Malcolm, you had kind of given us some insight in terms of how the students are congealing around this course. You know, one thing was in my mind, and listening to you all talk from last summer to now, you know, how, you know, a lot of people, I never took an AP course. I don't know if any of you all did, but,
No,
you know, but Nelly didn't shake her head. She took the AP courses, right? Her and Emmy took it. Look, yeah, I am a graduate of ISS though, so I can say in-school suspension, but do you think, and then of course, in your case, you got all AP students, you got the young sisters there.
Yes.
Give us a sense of the demographics of who's in your classroom. And while we're talking about that, let us know, do you think there are going to be some students who've never taken an AP course in their life who are saying now, talking to their friends, oh, I want to take this course? Any thoughts about either of those two things? What's the makeup of your classroom? And do you think this is going to bust out beyond the traditional AP students, so to speak?
Well, I will tell you that the makeup of my classroom, we are actually a majority minority campus. So majority of our students are African American and Hispanic, and a small portion of our students are Caucasian. So, you know, this is some history that they know, but not a lot that they know. One thing that I do want to point out is, you know, there's all this talk about taking intersectionality out of the course.
Yes, ma'am.
We're a girls' school. We live in the intersection of being in young people of color, in the case of my students, and also women. So there's always this discussion that I have with them. It's just organic. It's not anything that's forced as to how to navigate this history or how to understand this history through the eyes of a woman of color. So that you don't have to teach that, it's just there. And I think that a lot of misunderstanding comes from the fact that there are things that are going to come out in the course that seem to be those forbidden topics, but they just come up kind of naturally. It's not as if we have to teach that. You have to understand this is a national course. We want it to be able to be taught to everyone, and we don't want any state to be able to say, aha, that's why we don't want to have that course and prevent our students from having it. It's just something that grows out of it. But with our demographic here, it's just something that's natural. I have 6th grade parents, when they take the tour of our school and they happen to come by my class, and you know, our ambassadors are saying, well, this is Mrs. Williamson. She teaches all these AP courses, and she's piloting AP African American Studies. They're like, oh, can I sign my child up for that? No, ma'am, I'm sorry. She's in 6th grade. She has to be in 10, 11, and 12. So, you know, there is this this thought of looking forward. There are students who are in 6th grade who are looking forward to taking this course because we have that interest.
Anybody else? Demographic. Thank you, Nelva. That's fascinating.
Demographically for us, which is very interesting to me, my class is majority African American, but only slightly. There are just about as many Hispanic, Latino American children in my class. I have a significant portion, probably like about four, Asian Pacific Islander students. And I have white students in my class too. And to connect this to the discussion just a moment ago about the things that my students gravitate to the two subjects that have really riveted my class has been on breeding farms. We talked about enslavement and the breeding farms. And when we've talked about lynching. And what has been a marvel to me to understand, my Hispanic students and white students are the ones that were the most drawn into those subjects. One of my Hispanic students asked me, after we talked about lynching, so we came right out, talked Reconstruction and how lynching, at least cataloging, begins sort of in that space. And she asked me, she's a senior, I wonder if white people were ever sorry about the things that they did. And so I used some supplemental a resource about Brian Stevenson and his Equal Justice Initiative. He tells a story about when one of the sisters is collecting dirt in the jar from one of the lynching sites. The white man drives by and sees her doing that and speeds off, and he comes back and he asks her what she's doing. Eventually he gets out, and with tears flushing, he's plunging his hands in the dirt, helping her do that. She asked me, my student, after she saw Brian Stevenson tell this story, I wonder if we could ever go to a museum like that to see that. Other students chimed in. Yeah, can we go? And I started. I didn't know the possibility, but I started after that, at that point, to work on the trip. We're going next year to Montgomery. Yes, sir.
Come on, man. Hey, yes, look, the black table is seen all over the world, brother. I suspect that there are going to be a lot of people hearing this that are going to want to help y'all go wherever y'all want to go, man. So what a story. Thank you, man. That's somebody else jump in. Give us a glimpse.
I want to jump in because the field trip side of it, we just went to the Donaldsonville River Road Museum, right across the river, here in Donaldsonville, Louisiana, where there's so much history there. And so many of the kids we saw, the truth. And, it just impacts those kids in such a big way. And we had a group that went on a civil rights tour. Only one of those students in my class, but they went to Montgomery, they went to Birmingham, and they went to Jackson, Mississippi, where the Civil Rights Museum there is also amazing. And they have a lot about lynching going on in that one as well. So the demographics in my classroom is similar to Nelva's, which is interesting because it's 27 students total and 24 female. But it's a good mix. It's about 40% white in the class. So I think we had like 3 Hispanic students as well. So
and when you came by, in fact, when we were at the museum, Malcolm, I want to raise this before I come to you, Emmett. And you said in terms of African American males, how many brothers do you have in the class who are of African descent?
Oh, it's only one brother.
That's what I thought I remembered, brother.
Brother.
And as a coach, do you imagine there are going to be some students, for example, who may not have thought about AP and Emmett, you might want to bring up the how you looked at AP when you were in high school in a minute. When I ask you, there will be some non-AP students who might want to take this class. Do you think?
I'm working on that. As a football coach, that's the largest group of African American males participate in football on the campus. And it's the basketball as well. So I'm working hard to get some of those guys to open their minds up and give it a chance. But some of them are intimidated by just an AP course in general. I was a football player, never wanted to take AP myself, so I understand that. But if had there been AP African American Studies, a class specifically for me, that I could obviously relate to on a different level, I probably would have been more interested in it. So I do expect a significant growth in the course roll next school year for sure.
Okay. Well, thank you, man. But before we go to break, Emmett, squeeze you in a little bit, brother. Give us a little insight, and then we'll take the break. We'll come back on the back end on our last segment. We'll really open it up and continue the conversation. But give us a little glimpse into your room, man.
Okay. Yeah. So in my room, we're having similar experiences. But I want to say this. This is and I've been teaching. This is year 29, and I can honestly say to you, this is the most engaged and exciting course that I have ever taught. And I kid you not, hands down. And let me tell you why. So I tell people we have original jurisdiction with many of these stories because many of the kids will hear for the first time from us. They will hear people's names for the first time from us. They will hear about events from us for the first time. And so I don't take that lightly. And the kids, though, they really want to know all of these things. In our city, one of the typical dividing lines has been a place called Florida Boulevard, where you can separate pretty much socioeconomic status, race, and everything. And our school is right near that street. And many of the kids have basic questions because they want to know, why do certain people live on this part of town or in this part of town and others live on this end? And why is the level of economic activity here like that? And so I always refer them back to the stuff we're studying because that the answers are in everything we're studying. And I have seen, as Malcolm said, light bulbs going off daily in my class, kids so engaged. And the real, to me, tribute was when we had parents' night. Parents came up here to see, sit in and walk their kids' schedule. And the number of parents who, number one, reached out and said, is there anything we can do to help you with what you're doing? And number two, they said, we are loving the conversations we're having at home at our dinner table about what you're doing in this class. And we want to come up here. Some of the people wanted to actually leave work to come and sit in the class to be with us. And I've invited them. There are so many people reaching out that want to be a part of what's going on with this. So it's so dynamic. And but my kids, the makeup of my classroom is predominantly female. I have about, out of 60 students, I think 5 young men, 5 young brothers in the course, and it is I do have about 20% white, Asian, Middle Eastern, but the majority Black females, and it's really a good course. I really have a good group of kids, and they have pushed me in ways that that I didn't even think that would happen. But this has been exciting, so I'm glad to be a part of this.
Man, I think we're all glad you all are. In fact, we're going to take our break. Thank you. And when we come back, we're going to spend our final block kind of exploring any direction our master teachers want to take us in as we continue to have this conversation around the advanced placement course. Our first convening of our master teachers Black Table segment with our K-12 teachers, particularly our high school teachers, some of the best in the business. So we'll be back here in a moment here at the Black Table on the Black Star Network.
When you talk about blackness and what happens in Black culture, we're about covering these things that matter to us, speaking to our issues and concerns.
This is a genuine people-powered movement.
There's a lot of stuff that we're not getting. You get it, and you spread the word.
We wish to plead our own cause. Too long have others spoken for us. We cannot tell our own story if we can't pay for it. This is about covering us. Invest in Black-owned media. Your dollars matter. We don't have to keep asking them to cover our stuff. So please support us in what we do, folks. We want to hit 2,000 people, $50 this month, raise $100,000. We're behind 100,000, so we want to hit that. Y'all money makes this possible. Checks and money orders go to P.O. Box 57196, Washington, D.C. 20037-0196. The Cash App is $RM Unfiltered. PayPal is R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is RM Unfiltered. Zelle is Roland at RolandSMartin.com.
Welcome back to the Black Table here at the Black Star Network. I'm your regular host, Greg Carr, joined today by our first convening of our K-12, in this case, secondary educators master teacher roundtable. with some of the teachers who are pioneering with their students and the communities that they are working in, the advanced placement course offered by the College Board in African American Studies. Thanks again for joining us, y'all. How important in all the headlines and all the back and forth between some of these people, my friends too, man, academics at the university level saying we were left out or not left out. I think you've answered all of that. I want to ask you a question specifically about input. Now, we've heard some elected politicians talking about, they reviewing the course and all this, but how important has it been, the input that you and your students have had in between the pilot course and the course that's now mounted by the AP? I mean, how important has it been for you to say, this is what's working, this is what people seem to be gravitating toward, maybe a little bit more of this? Did you all participate in that process at all?
Yes. Yeah, we do it weekly because we get a survey every week that College Board sends out. They ask us what we had covered and how did it go? Was the length of the material too long? Was it too difficult? They asked for suggestions for us to, modify. It's a framework. And I think that's the part that a lot of people don't understand who are outside of academics, especially K-12, that this is a framework and teachers build into it what we need. Just a really quick thing that my students we were talking about this week is the Sugar Land 95. Many people around the country do not know that story, but when an adjacent school district was building their career center, they found 95 bodies of convicts who had been worked to death on their property. And so we had to talk about that and how do we honor people who were essentially lynched by the state. So, we have things that we bring in through local history. That's not history that's everywhere. Other people might be interested to know about it, but my students certainly were interested, and they were like, how can those kids go to a school and their bodies right outside? That's kind of a ooh moment for me too. But, College Board has done their due diligence in working with the teachers and getting our input. And because we're the ones that are in the classroom, no disrespect or disregard to academics who are doing their thing. They can't disregard what we're doing here in the classroom on a day-to-day basis.
Absolutely. And thank you to Nelva for really explaining the difference between curriculum and actual lesson plans. And College Board says at the beginning of the document, these are not lesson plans. Y'all got to do that and working it out. I mean, has this been other folks' experience as well? This local history, this kind of getting your hands in that, has that been a key element of this? And Emmett, you said something about the students are being surveyed too?
Yes, that's correct. College Board did also reach out to us to connect the students so that they could get their input. And so I do know students are having input in that way as well. So they are hearing those voices. And to be honest with you, a lot of times as a teacher, people don't always come and tap into the expertise that is within the walls of these classrooms. And so I feel like they have asked for input, and where we have made, when we have brought things to their attention, those things for the most part have been addressed, I believe. But so I think that they're getting a pretty all-around, a well-rounded input from everyone.
And before I go on to Malcolm and Darren, Emmett, if you don't mind, just maybe a quick second on the fact, because you are teaching as well at one of our flagship HBCUs, a lot of conversation, particularly coming out of Florida, where the governor's like, we can get rid of College Board because we can do IB, International Baccalaureate, we can do dual enrollment. You have some experience with dual enrollment. Any sense of how this course that you all are teaching is going to translate at the college level?
So what when the course was designed, as we were told in DC over the summer, the course is designed to give students as much of a comprehensive view of the field as possible in a year in a high school, with the hopes that the things that they will learn from us, that it will help them to, if they choose to take more courses in Africana studies and in African American history and what have you. So at Southern University, the current dual enrollment leadership reached out to me via social media when some of these stories were going on, and she had actually kicked around the idea in a post about developing a course for Southern for dual enrollment to offer in African American studies. So I think though that what College Board has put together, in my opinion, what they have put together with all the scholars that they were able to bring together is, as Nelva put it, a good framework so that a person who does not have a lot of experience with many of these stories could teach the course effectively and learn as they go and get better at it as they continue to work with it. So yeah, but Southern University and dual enrollment is a real big thing right now in the country. And there are a lot of universities that are tapping into the dual enrollment. I do know that some universities will not accept dual enrollment from other institutions. So every institution is kind of, here in Louisiana, I know that that's what I'm being told, that certain institutions will only accept dual enrollment instructors from their university as credit at their school. So it's a real interesting concept with the dual enrollment.
Well, I'm gonna tell you right now, brother, you just birthed an idea. As you all know, we have an HBCU master teacher roundtable. We do a network of historically Black colleges and universities with the folk who are teaching the AP African American studies course. I think you just gave us some work, brother. So everybody watching, you're Grambling or Southern or Texas Southern or Prairie View or Langston or over there at Lincoln of Missouri. Not Lincoln of Missouri. Yeah, Lincoln is in Jeff City, Missouri. I'm thinking about Langston. Brother Darren.
Don't forget Mississippi State. I gotta say that.
Come on, you gotta do that, brother.
State Delta Devils, baby.
Yes, sir. Jerry Rice. Hey, look, I want to State. Like, I'm one of them HBCU field Negroes. They just let me know.
Yeah.
Look. You and Darren take us home, man. Any insights anymore about the input, how this is shaping the course going forward?
Okay. So I'll say this. Like I said, I taught African American studies for years. And I had kind of, borrowed sources from all over the place. And when I got to DC, and they could probably remember me saying it over and over again, like, I've been just making this thing up from scratch the whole time. So like now I have a framework to work from myself. And it was very validating to me because a lot of the information that wasn't in there, that I had already been teaching is in the framework. So I was like, boom, I already got something for each one of these. I could start sharing some of these sources with some of my peers and everything. So as far as that goes, it made a lot of sense to me, and College Board did a great job of putting this framework together as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely.
As far as what our input and them listening to us and making adjustments based off the feedback, I think they've done a good job as far as that goes as well. Everybody not going to agree, and at the end of the day, like, it's what the kids gonna want at the end of the day. Like, that's the most important. Like, we are in the business of servicing young men and women. So if they are good, most importantly, then I think then that's great. But I've learned a lot, like Emmett said, we get to teach as we go. And some of the things I hadn't been introduced to yet. So learning more about the creation of Black studies in general, I learned that Mississippi Valley held the largest boycott of every school in the country.
Yes,
sir. I went there and I didn't know that.
Yes,
so what that has done for me is open my eyes in so many different ways. And I get to share that with my students and talk about local history. Baton Rouge bus boycott in 1953, which helped to influence Montgomery. Those things that happen right here that our students don't really know about. Now we get to discuss it, and they get to ask questions about it. They get to do research projects about it if they want to. It's just a beautiful thing, if you ask me.
It's beautiful. Right. And listen, shout out to Brandy Waters and all the folk at College Board who have been diligent in this work. And it's just a blessing to know that you all are in this really, and I'm saying from the ground up, the only reason there is a space like this is because of the work that you all are doing, you and the students and their families. So Darren, if you there are going to be a lot of young people who are watching this, not just young people, they're going to be teachers all over the country who are going to want to teach this. Anything you want to say to teachers who are saying, wow, looking at this, I really would like to get involved in this. What does it take to make an excellent master teacher of this AP course?
I think, let me say these two things first to that in terms of shaping the future with it, I think, number one, this is a step towards bringing American educational system educational justice. And I say that because there have been AP classes for so long on all kinds of subjects, but to be raising African American studies to that level, to offer it as AP is doing some sense of educational justice. The second thing I'm going to say too is, your mentor, Greg, says this, that African history, African American studies, to be teaching it and bringing it to the forefront is to return it to the respectful column of history.
Come on, brother.
So I think
better quote John Henry Clark.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. That is shaping what the future of this is. But to be, I think, a good teacher in this regard, I think you really got to be committed to that idea of what justice is, because with the pressure that is coming onto a course like this, a lot of the country doesn't even want to hear about African American studies. A lot of them don't even want to know about African American people, but the teacher who's going to teach it has to be committed to knowing what they're doing, knowing what they're talking about, and standing firm, standing strong. To be able to give to students what they need, so that their generation, when they become teachers, that this work can continue in that regard. It's a future long goal look, I believe, in being successful in teaching this.
Well, we're gonna pause. Thank you, brother, with that word, Darren. We want to thank you all and ask you all to come back to bring some more of your comrades and colleagues. What we would like to do here at the table and at the network is journey with you. I think everybody watching this now is on fire. They want to know. So as we continue to have this convened dialogue, what we want to do, of course, led by you and your students and the communities, is continue to get this peak in terms of what you're teaching, what we're learning. There are people taking notes right now. I know I've been sitting here taking them as well. Nelva, now I got to go and do some diving on the Sugarland 95, or I just wait for the student projects to come. We come out of and actually, we should maybe next time we can talk about what you all imagine the product, your student projects will be. Of course, they'll be graded, they'll get the credit, but maybe this needs to be a journal. Maybe it's need to come up with some kind of website or publication where we can all see the product and learn together, and then you all can teach the whole world, which is, you know, the wonderful thing. So we want to thank you, Darren Williams coming out of Tulsa, Nelva Williamson out of Houston, Emmett Lynn out of Baton Rouge, and of course our brother Malcolm Reed, Saint Amant. Anyway, I say it right. Did I say it right? I said it.
You got it. You got it.
Our master teacher roundtable, the first one here at the Black Star Network, and we couldn't have anybody better than four of the best to do it. So thanks you all. We look forward to seeing you again soon. And
thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Always about the kids. Always about the kids.
Always. And with that message from Brother Malcolm, we're going to pause here, and when we come back, we'll clear the table and get ready for next week here at the Black Table.
Hatred on the streets, a horrific scene, a white nationalist rally that descended into deadly violence.
White people are losing their damn minds.
As an angry pro-Trump mob storms the U.S. Capitol,
We're about to see the rise of what I call white minority resistance. We have seen white folks in this country who simply cannot tolerate black folks voting.
I think what we're seeing is the inevitable result of violent denial.
This is part of American history. Every time that people of color have made progress, whether real or symbolic, there has been what Carol Anderson at Emory University calls white rage as a backlash.
This is the rise of the Proud Boys and the Boogaloo Boys. America, there's going to be more of this.
Here's all the Proud Boys, guys.
This country is getting increasingly racist in its behaviors and its attitudes because of the fear of white people.
The fear that they're taking our jobs, they're taking our resources, they're taking our women. This is white fear.
Welcome back to the Black Table here on the Black Star Network. We have had our inaugural Master Teachers Roundtable with our educators who are teaching the Advanced Placement African American Studies course. And I want to quote Brother Darren Williams said, if you're going to be involved in this work, you have to be committed to what justice is. I think that resonates. We have seen four of the best to do it. We've heard them talk a little bit about their students, a little bit about how they've contributed to shaping this class. We've heard a little bit about the communities that they're doing this work in. And most importantly, we are all learning through them and their students and the communities they're in, the lessons that we can learn about how to create a better world. And at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. So join us next week here at the Black Table, and everybody stay safe, and we'll see you in a week.